In this podcast episode, Arthur Brooks shares deep insights into leadership discipline, morning and evening routines, mood and productivity management, ketogenic nutrition, and the underpinnings of human happiness. He also explores profound themes such as the meaning of life, suffering, transcendence, self-transcendence, and the neurological basis of significance and purpose. Throughout the conversation, Brooks blends behavioral science, spirituality, and practical wisdom drawn from personal experience and research, offering listeners actionable approaches to live a more fulfilled, meaningful life. Brooks begins by reflecting on leadership principles instilled in Marines, emphasizing the critical practice of deciding when to stop seeking perfect knowledge. Leaders are trained to achieve around 80% knowledge and then move forward decisively, rather than being paralyzed by the unattainable quest for 100%. This approach encourages responsible risk-taking and progression in life, whether in personal relationships, such as committing to marriage, or in broader decision-making. The key is recognizing when a decision is good enough to act upon and avoid the endless trap of indecision that pure seekers often fall into. Drawing from his annual travels to India and studies in the Vedic tradition, Brooks introduces the concept of Brahma Mahorta, the creator's time, which is about waking approximately an hour and a half before dawn. This ancient wisdom, now backed by modern behavioral science, suggests that early rising during these pre-dawn hours optimizes creativity, productivity, and mood. Brooks personally wakes at 4:30 a.m. year-round, adapting to seasonal shifts in dawn, and begins his day quietly without distractions, underscoring the mental clarity and presence that arise from such discipline. Immediately after rising, Brooks dedicates an hour to physical training in his home gym, emphasizing resistance training with dumbbells and Zone 2 cardio on an elliptical machine. His routines, derived from older gym cultures and tailored to longevity rather than aesthetics, balance push, pull, and leg workouts, prioritizing joint safety by favoring dumbbells over bars and managing weight versus reps thoughtfully. He highlights the neuroscientific benefits of working out without headphones, fostering focus and flow states. Brooks' approach to cardio revolves around simple metrics like the talk test, rather than overcomplicated biometric monitoring, maintaining heart rates around 120 beats per minute with brief high-intensity intervals to enhance performance. Brooks avoids caffeine upon waking to allow natural adenosine clearance before using caffeine later to harness increased focus and creativity. He consumes a substantial intake of protein, typically 60 to 70 grams from whey and Greek yogurt, early to support muscle synthesis, mood, and neurobiological performance. His supplementation includes a high dose of creatine monohydrate, which he credits with preserving creativity and cognitive function despite poor sleep patterns. His dietary philosophy embraces experimentation and acknowledges updated scientific consensus, debunking myths such as the 30-gram protein absorption limit while endorsing daily multivitamins for neuroprotective benefits. Brooks organizes his workday around distraction-free deep work sessions lasting up to 4 hours, usually beginning immediately after his morning routine and spiritual practice. He plans the prior day carefully, prioritizing tasks that require the most creativity and concentration, leaving unfinished work deliberately to provide momentum the next morning, echoing Hemingway's technique of ending writing mid-paragraph. Avoiding interruptions, he isolates from emails, texts, and other digital distractions during this creative window, producing higher quality work than typical fragmented productivity allows. A self-described mad scientist poet, Brooks shares his personality profile, combining high positive and high negative affect, which leads to creative peaks but also intense lows. He discusses how common maladaptive coping strategies like substance use, excessive internet, or workaholism are attempts to modulate negative moods by distracting the amygdala's threat response, but these are ultimately harmful. Instead, Brooks advocates for disciplined physical activity, spiritual practice, and balanced lifestyle routines that stabilize mood without blunting positive emotion, thereby promoting holistic mental health. Both Brooks and his interlocutor discuss their personal usage of ketogenic diets and intermittent fasting for enhanced mental clarity, mood stabilization, and potential neuroprotective effects in light of family histories of neurodegenerative disease. Brooks emphasizes strict carbohydrate restriction, natural ketone production, and occasional exogenous ketone supplementation as a way to maximize cognitive function and mood. They highlight how ketosis reduces negative affect intensity and supports sustained creative energy without some of the downsides of pharmaceutical stimulants. The conversation explores meaning as a psychological construct composed of coherence, understanding why things happen, purpose, why one acts as one does, and significance, why life matters at all. Brooks describes the widespread contemporary crisis around perceived meaninglessness, particularly among younger adults facing social, technological, and existential uncertainties. He stresses that meaningfulness is largely relational and spiritual, rooted in love, whether through marriage, family, community, or belief in the divine, and cautions against substituting activism or social media approval for authentic significance. Brooks distinguishes between search, the active and often restless seeking for life's answers, and presence, the state of having found satisfactory answers that ground meaning. Presence increases with age and conscious effort, but can be elusive for chronic seekers who remain caught in an endless quest. He encourages embracing the 80% rule in matters beyond rational knowledge, knowing when it is right enough to commit, whether in relationships, faith, or life direction, to move from perpetual seeking toward presence and fulfillment. Discussing transcendence, Brooks highlights the necessity of looking out from the self, moving from the me-self, self-absorbed identity, to the I-self, observer in awe. Experiences of awe, whether through nature, art, meditation, or spiritual practice, open the right hemisphere of the brain where meaning, love, and connection reside. He credits mindfulness and meditative rituals, such as daily mass or other forms of contemplative practice, in cultivating this state, which counters the fragmented, left brain, technologically saturated modern life that traps individuals in simulation and self-obsession. Brooks emphasizes that real life and meaningful relationships are complex problems, not puzzles to be solved, but processes to be lived. Unlike complicated tasks which once solved remain solved, complexity requires ongoing engagement, patience, humility, and vulnerability. This applies especially to marriage and deep interpersonal commitments, which resist simplistic or transactional approaches. He critiques contemporary culture's tendency towards simulated, superficial interactions and urges listeners to embrace the messiness and unpredictability of authentic presence in relationships and life. Taking a critical stance on modern eliminationism of suffering, Brooks frames suffering as an essential teacher and a foundational element of a meaningful human life. Citing Buddhism's first noble truth in Stoic philosophy, he proposes that suffering equals pain multiplied by resistance. Reducing suffering effectively involves decreasing resistance rather than numbing pain. Meditation and contemplative acceptance lower resistance, allowing suffering to become transformative rather than destructive. He challenges the notion that a good life is pain-free, advocating instead for proactive engagement with suffering to foster growth and purpose. Drawing on the ancient tradition of pilgrimage, Brooks describes life's journey as a metaphorical and literal pilgrimage, where meaning is not found by aggressive searching, but through the process of committed traversal. Physical exertion, detachment from technology, prayer, reflection, and communal connection during pilgrimage create neurobiological openness in the right hemisphere, allowing meaning to find you. His personal experience walking the Camino de Santiago exemplified this gradual unfolding of purpose through embodied spiritual practice. Brooks explores ways to cultivate awe and wonder in daily life, highlighting the importance of paying attention to the mundane miracles surrounding us, from nature's beauty to art to human kindness, and argues that slowing down and focused awareness counteract the simulation, distraction, and superficiality of modern existence. He praises meditative practice, music, nature immersion, and creative flow states as gateways to self-forgetting and transcendence, providing a path to restore balance between the hemispheres and deepen life's meaning. Significance arises through relational bonds, spouses, children, friends, and communities, and connection to something greater than oneself, such as spirituality. Brooks dispels myths that significance can be found through fame, activism, or online followers, urging a return to micro-level commitments of love and care. He stresses that love is both active and intentional, a commitment rather than merely a feeling, and that fostering love is the surest way to imbue life with profound meaning. Closing the discussion, Brooks describes his evening practice emphasizing reading psalms and love poetry aloud as generative, soothing rituals that prepare the mind for restorative sleep and right brain processing. He advocates for quiet, loving interactions with one's spouse through eye contact, touch, prayer, and spending time together before sleep to foster bonding and oxytocin release. These practices serve both relational health and neurological balance, contributing to overall well-being and meaning. Throughout the conversation, Brooks weaves together insights from neuroscience, psychology, behavioral science, and religious traditions, offering a synthesis that respects complexity without succumbing to reductionism. He invites listeners to treat their lives as experiments, embracing protocols not as ends, but as means toward cultivating presence, love, resilience, and transcendence in a fragmented world.